Hey, it's Noelle Bloom here, and welcome to Bloom TV. You're in the right place if you want to create a business that makes a difference and live a fabulous life. Do you find that you are feeling stressed, overworked, and exhausted, maybe on the verge of burnout? For many of us entrepreneurs, especially the high achieving ones, we can work on our businesses non-stop. And although our ambition can be an asset, it can also be our biggest weakness if we're not careful. So if you've been living a hectic lifestyle and you feel like things are starting to spin out of control, then this episode is for you. I'm going to sit down and talk with a very special guest, and her name is Shelley Gawith. She's a functional nutritionist who combines all of her training, knowledge, and firsthand experience dealing with a chronic illness to help people find the underlying root cause of their health symptoms and turn their lives around so that they can reclaim their health again. And she's going to share how her hectic lifestyle caused her body to shut down and how she was able to heal herself despite doctors thinking that there was nothing more that they could do for her. So if your way of working has you feeling exhausted, this is a must watch. I'd love for you to join us in this conversation as we talk about how you can stop living your hectic lifestyle and overcome exhaustion. So let's dive in. So Shelley, thank you so much for joining me on Bloom TV.
Thank you so much for having me, Noelle.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So the reason why I really wanted to sit down and have this conversation with you is because many entrepreneurs, they are overly stressed, they're overworked, and they're on the verge of burnout. And most of us don't even know it.
So true.
Yeah. So I think you sharing your journey and your journey in the corporate world and how that crept up on you and some tips that you can give us to help us really rethink the way we work on our businesses, I think that would be so helpful. So I'd love to start off by asking you, what's your corporate background and what did that lifestyle look like?
Great question. So my corporate background is I'm a trained chartered accountant. So I was an accountant. I moved to Australia and worked for a big investment bank over there. So I moved from being in an accounting role to a finance manager, project management role where I oversaw a big team and big projects for the bank. So typical, an Australian investment bank is the same kind of culture as an American investment bank. It's very productivity driven, success driven, and working really long hours, and it kind of pulls a certain personality type of being overachievers, A-type personality. So we're very driven and very hardworking. So that was what I was doing for a few years. And my lifestyle was very much like I would work really hard during the day. I thought that I had good work-life balance because I exercised. So to me, I was like, got it, I've nailed this. Yeah. So I would get up at about 5 or 5:30 most days, go to the gym or go for a run. I was training for half marathons and triathlons and all sorts of physical things. I'd work all day at work, and then I'd probably get to bed most nights. And also I was studying on top of that, like, because you can always do more. Yeah. And so I wouldn't get to bed most nights till about midnight, in which case I'd absolutely collapse into bed and fall asleep for a few hours before I started it all again. And being a type A personality, because I was so busy with work during the week and I wanted to have work-life balance, I spent the weekends, rather than resting and like catching up on sleep, out socializing, doing runs, doing exercise, doing whatever I could do. I didn't even think there was such a thing as over exercising. I thought that exercise was just a good thing. And so I spent the weekends on the go, extremely busy, getting up probably at 6 o'clock, that was asleep in, and once again going to bed at midnight. Yeah. So it was an on-the-go lifestyle where conversation in the lift was kind of talking about how many hours you'd worked. Like it was kind of like a status thing, like giving up our sleep was kind of like, we were amazing, we've got to be better than our colleagues. So it's kind of like, I was here to this time, or I was here up till this time, rather than being like, I was in bed at 9 o'clock and being proud of ourselves. It was like, how late could you push the envelope before your body started to take an impact? So it was very driven and working really hard.
Yeah. Wow. So even though we're talking about you in the corporate world, there are so many underlying themes that go hand in hand with entrepreneurship. You're talking about the type A personality. You're talking about overachieving. You're talking about ambitious, wanting to be productive. And I've seen, it's just like all the women that I attract, especially even men, they're high achieving. They are super duper driven, and they're willing to do like whatever it takes to build the business, to get the clients, and they just really thrust themselves into their work. And I see that's, sort of what you did. And something that I thought about as you were talking is, how you said, like, if no one's like, yeah, I went to bed at 9:00, like, woohoo, I'm getting rest, I'm energizing and resting my body. In the entrepreneurship world, I see many people, saying, oh, I work 16-hour days. My family has suffered. I don't exercise, and they really glorifies or that team no sleep, right?
Yeah.
Or just wanting to say, oh, well, this is how I'm building my business, and if you don't work this hard, you don't want it bad enough, right? And so
Totally.
yeah, and I've seen many people kind of brag about that. And it never set well with me ever. And not only because I'm a lifestyle strategist, so I'm thinking all things about enjoying your life as you build your business, just in general, like just overworking to that extent.
Well, you can't, as an entrepreneur, you can't be creative when you're tired, when you're not getting enough sleep. You can't create, like when we're so sympathetic driven, which is when we're in our real stress response, which is when we're not sleeping, creativity doesn't come to us. We can't use that part of our brains. So we're actually slowing down. We end up going, and I watch this with my clients all the time now, you end up going backwards. If you know, like your productivity and stuff, you end up getting slower. You're not as sharp. You're not as onto it. You're not quick thinking. You're not thinking outside the square because you can't when you're depleting your body of that. But yet we see it as a good thing to be not sleeping and to be pushing ourselves. And it's like, we've got to turn that around. When did it become about how long we're doing something or how many hours, and flip it to like, how productive are we? How creative are we? How are our ideas going to the next level? Are we like this? Like if you're like this all day because you're so onto it and you're working 6 hours, opposed to your entrepreneur friend that's doing 17 hours, but they're slow, don't you want to be like this, like onto it? Like when did it become a time thing of punching in what time we get in and punching out what time we get out to create success? Like we need to flip that around. And it's funny that you should say that, because there's sometimes now when I worked really hard in the corporate world, right? And now I have my own business and it's very successful and I absolutely love it. But there's been a few times I've commented where I've been like, you know what? The hours in the investment bank were easy in comparison to having your own business and being an entrepreneur. I'm like, you work so darn hard in the best way. And it's not always, and there's times and there's things like if you've got something that you need to work on. But I just chuckled to myself because I was like, when I was in the investment bank, I never thought that I'd turn and say that.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you that later on down the line, because I wanted to know, in comparison to your corporate job and how like you just pushed it, and how did that compare to your entrepreneurship journey? So I love that you mention that, because I'm so curious to know the difference. And I know for me, definitely, especially in the very beginning, I worked so ridiculously long, and it wasn't like I was forcing myself to like be on my laptop. I just genuinely enjoyed my work. And then I kind of was like, oh wow, I'm not eating, I'm not going to the gym. And then that's when, to some extent, I became really passionate about burnout, because I was like, there was a time where I was building my business and I had no life. I was not living the definition of what I believe to be a fabulous life. And as a lifestyle enthusiast, I lost my lust for life in it all. And so I became really passionate. But yeah, so I love that you made that distinction, because I was so curious how it compared to your corporate world. So, and you mentioned the last time we talked, you actually said that you loved working in the corporate world. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what you envisioned it to be?
in terms of when I was in the corporate, like I loved it. Like I loved the hustle, the bustle, the excitement. Like in Sydney, it's the mecca of the financial world. So it's very much like where all the strategy is happening, where it's all going off, right? So I'd get to work and there'd be such a buzz from the moment I walked into the day that to when I left. So there was this adrenaline that buzzed through me that I think was really addictive, because you'd get there and there was always things happening. Like as project manager, there was this going on, there was this disaster to put out, there was this client calling me with this problem. Like every single day, I'd never know what my day was going to look like. Like it was like energy junkie, if you know what I mean, like adrenaline junkie. Like, I was like loving it. And I was just like, what fire do I need to put out? What do I need to do now? And so there was that real hustle bustle and that real, what I thought was really fun. Plus you're like at the top of your game. Like there's something about that too. When you're working for this investment bank that I was working for, you know that you're good at your job. You know, you're working really hard. And I loved the strategy. I loved the politics. I loved my colleagues. I loved everything that was going into the job, if you know what I mean. I gave it my everything, obviously, because I gave it my health in the end, but I did give it my everything when I was there. And so I loved working with those people. I loved that environment. And so I didn't like what it did to my body, and I didn't like how I let it do that to my body, like what I let it do to my health. But I very much did love the whole sparkle and the glitter of being in that. If you know what I mean, I kind of saw it like the sparkles and the glitter and all the shininess. It was fun. It was a great culture. I enjoyed the culture. I enjoyed that you're mixing with very intelligent people, which is like us in the entrepreneur world. Like you get me in an entrepreneur conference and I love it again. I'm like, I'm in heaven. Like this is so much fun. And I can see my adrenaline levels kind of like crank up. And I'm like, Shelley, you know, come on. But yeah, like calm down. It's going to be okay. You can go to bed tonight. You can still go to sleep. You're going to be okay. It will be there tomorrow. And so I absolutely loved that environment. Like it worked really well for me, that whole like being driven and pushing myself and excelling. And I think those are all attributes that entrepreneurs have. We've got good drive. We're pushing ourselves. We want to be the best. We want to be at the forefront. We're excelling. Like we're pushing boundaries. Like we just want to be challenged. And so that's what I absolutely loved. And I just love the people that you attract as well in these environments. Like that was for me, where just really interesting conversations. You're at the forefront of things. You're discovering things. So everything that us entrepreneurs love was what my corporate experience was like.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I agree. I don't know if it's a type A personality or it's just like that entrepreneurship spirit or just that go-getter. I've noticed that when my calendar has a lot of space, I feel a little anxiety, like I need to be doing more. I want to be doing more. I want to be meeting with more people. I need to put some events on. And I think that's because I just love to be involved. And I kind of do like the high pace, very kind of let's go, let's get things moving. And that's always been a part of my my business vision, sort of having a team of people, a larger team of people, and just projects are getting done. So I can totally resonate with that go-getter, you know, lifestyle. But the thing is that if we don't catch ourselves and we keep living that hectic lifestyle, it can turn around and bite us, right? And that's what we're going to obviously get into. But yeah, I'm sure there are many entrepreneurs who kind of love that booked and busy type of vibe when it comes to their business. So, so for you, how did you start to notice that, okay, this lifestyle is causing some issues, or I'm not feeling hot anymore. So what was that transition like where you kind of noticed something's not right?
In all honesty, I wish that I'd noticed it. For me, it was more like I couldn't help. I felt like it was such a like, you couldn't help but notice it, if you know what I mean. So I'd sort of noticed my energy, like life was a bit more of a challenge. Like getting up to go to the gym was a lot harder and I'd have to push myself. And the energy that I had for my runs and stuff was declining. But I put that down to just working really hard, being busy, being on one deadline after another. I just moved to another big investment bank. And so I was in a more senior role. So I could justify it. So the alarm bells that my body was telling me, I was ignoring, if you know what I mean. Like I'd pushed myself through glandular fever, Epstein-Barr virus, and worked the whole time from my laptop and my bed. So I had a strong, like when my body was talking to me, I knew how to ignore it. My way of dealing with it when I would get tired throughout the day, as I now look back and with the power of hindsight, was I had more coffees. So when I got tired, I was like, well, just have another coffee, Shelley. You'll be fine. And I was gluten-free at this point. So I'd have gluten-free treats. So I'd still be having the sugar. So my way of dealing with, so now, Noelle, when you ask me, how did I deal with it? What did I listen to? I didn't. I just kept fueling it and pushing myself, if you know what I mean, where I was just like, I'm tired, but I got to do this. I want to do this. It wasn't even I've got to do this. It was I want to do this. I love my life and I'm not going to let my body get in the way. And I was so headstrong and I didn't understand that my body was just trying to talk to me and it was actually trying to look after me and it was crying out. And so for me, I just ignored it all and kept pushing. And it's only with hindsight that I look back. And it wasn't until I literally got influenza, like full-blown influenza, and collapsed and could not get out of bed. I started to lose my cognitive function. I lost all my physical function. And after a few weeks of this, my doctor was like, look, you're so ill. We think you're on death's door and you need to be hospitalized. And it was at that point that when you asked me, how did I listen? I had no choice but to listen. Right. My brain wasn't working. My body wasn't working. I couldn't do anything but listen to it. It tried to tell me all the warning signs and I was so headstrong, as most of us are. I just kept pushing through and I didn't listen to any of the warning signs that my body was crying out for. I found other ways to feed it and just to keep, I like to think of it as thinking I was like that racehorse with the jockey that just kept thrashing it with the whip and just thrashing and thrashing and thrashing. And that's what I did. When my body was giving me the warning signs, I just whipped it harder. And kept on whipping until it was like, this horse is collapsing and the body's going to win, and it just gave up. So I didn't listen to any of the warning signs.
Wow. You were just like, I'm just going to keep going. And I think it's interesting that it wasn't like you forced yourself, like, I have to do this. It wasn't like a lot of external pressures as much as it was internal pressures, from what I'm hearing, because you loved it. You were addicted to go, 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 go. And
totally addicted.
Yeah. And even if your body's like telling you, Shelley, hello, Shelley, I need sleep. Shelley, I need, you were just like, I'm just doing my thing. And obviously that led to you getting sick. But how long, like, can you give us a time frame from like when, like from the time you got sick and sort of were bedridden, how long were those warning signs happening?
Before I got sick? So
like 2 years, a year, 6
about
months.
2 years. No, about 2 years. So I started, when I look back with hindsight, like, so it's very easy, when I was in it, 2 years prior, I'd gone to my doctor and I thought that I've got naturally like a weak thyroid. So I thought it was a thyroid condition. So I said to her, look, just give me more medication. Just keep on giving me the medication. Like at this point, I had no idea about health and nutrition or what the medication was doing. I was like, if the doctor's giving it to me, I'm at an integrative doctor, it must be okay. So my way of fixing it was throw things at it. So I was like, give me more medication. So at that point, when I declined with my energy levels a little bit, she told me to change a little bit of my diet, which I did do. Like I was very compliant. She told me to do it. I did it. If it meant that I could keep going to work, I was all in. And so my thyroid did decline, but then I got on the medication. So I was back up with my energy levels again. I changed my diet a little bit. So I thought I was feeling much better. And then so that maybe got me through for another 6 months before I did start to decline and decline and decline. And I remember going to my doctor and I was still just like absolutely exhausted, like struggling, but pushing myself. And she was like, you're at the maximum level of medication we can give you for your thyroid. And I remember having a moment when I got home that night and I didn't really understand. I started to kind of research my thyroid and adrenals a little bit. And I remember thinking, if I'm at the maximum and I'm not feeling that great, like what hope is there for me? But being the person that I am, I was kind of like, oh, well, I did a little bit of research and I was like, oh, well, life goes on. I guess I'll just keep working and I'll keep functioning and hopefully I'm just fine. And that was my attitude. I was like, I'm not going to get too sad about it. I'm going to keep doing my runs. I didn't realize that I was flogging my body physically as well and making the problem way worse. I was like, I've made her dietary changes. I'm good. I've got my medication. And there was a part of me that was like, I don't really want to be on medication for the rest of my life. But I was like, oh, well, bigger thing is I can keep working. I can keep enjoying my life. So I'm just going to keep going.
Wow. So at this point you were, so were you still going to work?
Yes. At this point, the medication was getting me good. Like I could function and get through work.
Wow.
It was a struggle, but I could do it. So I was happy. I could still make myself run. Like I was like pushing myself each day. And this is where I started having the coffees and so my little treat of like having an occasional coffee was now a full-blown addiction to get me through the day. And I remember joking to somebody when they were like, oh, coffee costs you so much money, like, because I was probably having 3 or 4 and I was buying them each day, and I was like, it's an investment in my job, because if I don't buy these coffees, I won't have a salary anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, I need, like, I could justify it away. Well, I genuinely believe that. I was like, to me, it's not a cost. It's a cost of keeping me in my job because I need them, if you know what I mean. So when they were like, you waste so much money on coffee each week, I was like, I don't see it as a waste. I see it as an investment in me keeping my job, because it's what I didn't realize was the impact that it was actually having on my adrenals anyway, which was just leading to me collapse, if you know what I mean. So it was a short-term fix, but I was only thinking short-term anyway, if you know what I mean. Like, I believed that, like, I was just the thought that my health would actually totally crash on me never even crossed my mind. I thought that I could keep going like this.
Yeah. Even though you were already sick, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So was there ever a time where you had to completely stop working because your body crashed?
Yeah. So once I moved to the new bank and I caught influenza, it was going around the office, like full-blown influenza, like what people get hospitalized for. So I'd only been in this job for 4 weeks, and I'd met with the big CEOs when they took me on, and I was in a very senior position. So for me to call in sick after 4 weeks was just like unheard of. So there was one morning I got up to go to work and I collapsed on the way to the shower, and I literally could not move anymore. Like, I just lay on the ground, just being like, oh my gosh, I can't move. And I finally could crawl back to my bed, and I got out my cell phone and I rang my new boss and was like, I can't come into work today. I'm so sick. And so I took the next 4 days off. And at that point, like, my doctor that I've been seeing for years, who'd seen me work through glandular fever and stuff, I had to catch a taxi to her office. Like, I could no longer walk. And I said to her, I was like, I need a doctor's certificate. She had never seen me ask for a day off ever. Like, normally she was trying to write them. Like, I'd worked with chest infections, all sorts of things. And I was like, and at that point, alarm bells were going off for her. And she was like, my patient is really sick at this point. But after my 4 days, I didn't get better. I remember ringing my mum, because she was back in New Zealand, crying. And I was like, Mum, I'm just not getting better. Like, I've been in bed for 4 days. I still can't move. Like, I can't, every time I try and walk out of my bed, I collapse. Like, I'm so exhausted. But I've got to go back to work. Like, I had this belief that work was going to get me better somehow, or this was my new norm. So I was like, I've just got to go back. So I went back to work. And my boss actually took me aside and he was like, you are so sick. Like, we're actually worried that you'll bring a corporate, like, lawsuit against us because you're a liability because you're so sick. Like, wow. If you know what I mean? Like, he was just like, you look awful. And I was like, no, I won't. Like, I promise. I just want to get my job done. I just want to keep working. Like, it's a new job. So he let me keep coming. But I would have to catch a taxi to work. And I used to normally walk to work. I would then work for a few hours before I'd have to lie down and have a sleep in like the garden near work. Then I'd come back into the office, work for a few hours, sleep again, work from the office, like, and then I'd need to taxi home, and I couldn't cook dinner. I couldn't do anything. I'd just come home and go straight to bed. And so I tried to do that for a few more weeks before I got to the point that my cognitive function then started to decline so much I couldn't even do my job. I could no longer work spreadsheets. I could no longer do formulas that I was knowing. Like, corporate finance managers, we're good at like our VLOOKUPs and all those like spreadsheet like shortcuts. I couldn't remember any of them. Like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't have a conversation. Like, and so at that point, my boss took me aside and he was like, you are ill. You might not want to face up to it, but we can't have you keep coming in here. Like, you were so sick. You just need to take unlimited sick leave, unpaid sick leave. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I said, I'll come back. Like, I'll get better. And so then I think it was about 2 weeks that I just was in bed nonstop. I wouldn't get up. All my meals were kind of brought to me. I didn't do anything. I went to my doctor. By this stage, this has been going on for a few months and I was no better. I was deteriorating. Like, if it was possible, I was getting worse. My energy wasn't coming back. I still couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. And so then she was like, then we waited, I think she was like, okay, let's just see. We waited a couple more weeks and it got to the point where I really just couldn't even move. And she was like, you're so sick. We need to hospitalize you. Like, you're on death's door. We don't know if you're coming back. Like, nothing's working for you, sort of thing. And so at that point, obviously I resigned from my job and I was like, I'm not going back to this bank at this point. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get better. I don't even know if I'm going to get better.
Wow. And so at that point you had to resign from your job, and you had to just give that up, which probably was devastating. Was it devastating for you to have
It
to
was devastating. It was devastating. This is what I'd worked so hard for. I was in an amazing job. I loved my colleagues. It was this new job. I barely even I was so gutted because I was like, I had sold them these, because this is what I was thinking, these directors on how great a job I was going to do. And I was so upset because I couldn't even deliver on it. And it was like, it just felt heartbreaking. Like, they were so supportive and they were so good. But I felt like I'd let them down so much, and that I was beating myself up over that as well. And I was just so upset that I was kind of wasting this amazing opportunity that I'd worked so hard for.
Wow. So at this point, what did your doctors diagnose you with? Did they know what was going on with your body? Did they say it was exhaustion, or was it a thyroid thing? At this point, what was it?
At this point, my thyroid had well blown out. They're diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, and then they diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome as well, but one of the worst cases of it that they'd seen. They pretty much realized that there was just nothing that they could do. Like, all the treatments and stuff, just my body wasn't responding, and they didn't really know how I was going to get better.
Wow. So this is where I start to get really excited, because you took your health into your own hands. So as these doctors are telling you, we don't know what to do for you, just keep taking the medicine, we're not sure how you're going to get better. How did that make you feel? And what type of determination did you have to kind of get back on your feet?
Well, at this point, so I was still in Australia, right? And I was so kind of just didn't even fully understand. I still didn't even comprehend how sick I was. I knew that if I went to hospital, I was going to die. There was just something in me that just knew that. I can't tell you why, because I didn't know anything about nutrition. Now I look back and I was like, I definitely would have died. So I remember thinking, I've got to get back home. So my parents came over and took me back to New Zealand, where my mum gave up her job and her life to pretty much full-time take care of me. Because from there, once I got back to New Zealand, if it was possible, I deteriorated even more, until I was only awake for half an hour a day, when my parents would wake me up for my food, and I would just sleep and be in bed the whole day, which brought about a whole set of other problems, because no human being should ever be lying down without moving for that amount of time, as I've now realized. But fast forward kind of 13, 14 months of seeing specialists all around the world and doctors, and nobody being able to help me. And I couldn't even read a page of a book anymore. I had no concentration. I had no knowledge. I just couldn't work out how to even function in the world. Yeah. I was awake for half an hour. I remember saying to my parents, I was like, look, being an investment banker, what do you do at a problem? Throw some money at it. So I was like, we're throwing all this money at it and nothing's getting me better. Nobody can offer me anything that, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but at this point there was nothing that was helping things. I was trying all sorts of things. My doctor was like, wow, you're so, I'd keep going to him with new ideas and would try them, and they just wouldn't work for me. And so I said to my parents, I was like, look, the only person that can get me better is me. The whole time throughout this journey, I'd still stayed positive. My doctor was always like, you are the most positive, sickest person I've ever met. How can you still have a smile? And I kept being I am going to get better. I never gave up on that thing of, even when everything was going wrong, I was always so determined I was going to get better. I never knew how I was going to get better, but I was like, there's going to be something at some stage. We're going to get something.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to pause you for a second, because that's, again, the go-getter in you, right? So not only are you like that when it comes to your career, your work, just going to the gym on the weekends, having fun, and just, trying to have that work-life balance. And then that was the cause of, just you being fatigued. And then now you're sick. And then even in the midst of getting sick and just deadly sick, because we've talked about this before, and you're like, I was deadly sick. Even with that going on, it's you're still a go-getter. It's that followed you through all of those situations, not only in your career, but when it came to your health. So
totally. And you know what, Noelle, as entrepreneurs, we can beat ourselves up for these type A personalities of being go-getters, right? But I do believe when we look at them, yes, they're our biggest weaknesses, that part of our personalities, but it's our biggest strengths. And when we can use it for good, and when we can use it to look after ourselves and then look after the world that we're in, like that we're a part of our community or whatever our dreams are, that's what sets us apart. That's what gives us our drive. That what makes us so amazing. So it's so easy as entrepreneurs to read this stuff and go, oh, I've got to do this. And this person, my type A personality is such a crutch, and, you know, like it's such a bad thing. I believe that it's our greatest asset and our greatest strength. We just need to treasure it and look after it really well and manage it within boundaries that suit our lives and suit our health and our bodies, if you know what I mean. So it was, yes, it's what got me to kind of death's door, but it's also what got me out of death's door into the life that I'm in now at the same time, if you know what I mean. So it's very easy for us to read, like, or to talk to, you know, like amazing people in the wellness space where they tell us, you know, we should be doing this or we should be doing that. And so we beat ourselves up and we're like, but my personality is just not like that. Like, I've naturally got us passionate people. We've got busy brains. We've got ideas. We've got things going all over the place. And I believe if we try and change that, it's going to stress us out so much. And we're not using the gifts that we've been given. If we can use that and look after it and sculpt it so it really works for us, that's what makes us the X factor entrepreneurs and sets us apart from other people. But it's looking at that as our biggest strength and equally our biggest weakness.
Yes, I love that distinction, right? Our strengths can then become our weaknesses if we're not careful. It's like a double-edged sword, right?
Oh, yes.
If we think about our ambition, our drive, our determination, that's awesome. And like many of us go-getters are on the verge of burnout. And that's why it's so important for us to have this conversation, because many of us are ignoring the warning signs. I know last year I had an ear infection for 6 months in both ears. And I was wondering why I was so freaking tired. I was wondering why I felt so confused, why I felt like I wasn't like the Noelle that I know, the enthusiastic, the like, you know, I just didn't quite feel myself. I wasn't depressed or like super sad, but I just kind of felt off. And it wasn't until I was like, you know what, this is something weird is going on. And then that is when I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to the doctor. And that's, you know, when she was like, okay, you've got an ear infection and it's in both ears, and, you know, this is out of hand. And then I got better very quickly. But I even though I was kind of feeling tired, sleeping a lot, just lacking energy, it still took me a while to stop working and say, let me make a doctor's appointment. Like, come on.
I find the time right, Noelle, isn't it, when you need it? It's like, I don't have time for the doctor's appointment. I just don't have time.
Yeah,
I've got the next thing to do. We're like, we don't have time.
Yeah. And I think that for me, I was just thinking, I'm just getting it. I'm launching. I'm, you know, working with people. I'm just getting it. And maybe I just need a little bit more rest. But one of my biggest realization is that when your body feels off or anything feels weird, I don't care what's going on, health is a priority, and I'm taking my ASS to the doctor. And that's just kind of my mindset now. But back to you. So what did you start to do to take your health into your own hands? Because I think this is so fascinating how you just went on a complete 360 journey from listening to the doctors and then doing your own thing. So how did that happen?
So at this point, I was like, I've got to study. I've got to get education. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I really hope one day I can use my health journey to help other people. And I was like, being an accountant, they were logical, right? So I was like, I don't just want an anecdotal story. I don't want people to hear my story and go, wow, that's great for her. Like, so she changed and she ate some kale and she ate some bone broth or whatever it is, and she got herself better. I was like, that's not what I want. If you know what I mean? Like, I need to like know why I got sick in the first place, what's happening in my body, and educate myself to get better so that then I can help others one day if that's what I'm meant to do. And so I started looking into universities. I started looking into studying programs, like all sorts of different things around nutrition. And I was like, we've always had food, right? Like our ancestors, it's the common thing that we've always had. We haven't always had medication. We haven't always had doctors. We haven't always had these things, but we've always had food. So I was like, if I go back to the basics of what we've always had, I don't need to be a doctor to help myself. I'm sure if I just start learning about food and nutrition, I will be able to start to help myself. And so in the end, I went with an American nutritional organization that I studied with. And so because I looked at all around the world and everything, and they were the best ones that I thought for what I needed to get better. And so sure enough, as I started to study, my mom started to implement everything that I was learning. And little by little, I got better to the point that I remember the week that I could stay awake for an hour and a half. Like I could crawl up the stairs and sit with my parents at breakfast time, and then go back downstairs to my room to bed. But for us, that was just amazing. At that point, I was like, if this is as good as life gets now, we've done really well, and this was all worth it. And so just throughout studying and applying everything, like I was like the living human experiment, like in terms of like, I'm so excited that I was that sick because I could test everything on the course, like what I was learning on me, and see what worked and didn't work. Like I was the best patient in the world. I was so compliant. Like I would never ask my clients to do what I did to myself because that never worked, but I was so desperate. And so I just started to get better. And slowly, as I gained my health and started to work out based on my education, what wasn't working in my body and what had happened for me to get so sick. I could start healing it from the kind of roots down, the bottom up. And as I healed one system of my body to the next, I got more and more energy and got better and better. And I remember the day that I could walk to the local grocery store, like the organic store, and buy my own veggies. And you would think that I'd just gone on the most amazing holiday or like won lotto or something, because I was just like grinning. And never, like now every time I walk into that shop, because when I was lying down for so long, it's not the overseas holidays you miss. It's not the like beaches. It's the little things like of just being able to enjoy your life. And so it's like, I feel so blessed because now every time I go to this organic store, which happens to be almost daily, I smile because I'm like, I'm so lucky that I can do this. What a blessed life I have. Like as an entrepreneur, if I lose everything else, well, I've got this and I've got my health. And with that, you've got everything.
Yes. Ah, I love that. And when you had to quit your job and you were bedridden, and the moment that you were able to actually go get your own stuff, like that was empowering, right? And just the fact that you can look back and say, you know what, I am so grateful that even if I lost the business, I still have my health. You have the education that you received as you were bedridden. So you were studying actually when you were very sick, right? To try to get yourself better.
Yeah.
And at what point did you start going to the doctor and seeing things change? Did you let them know what you were doing?
Yes. Initially I didn't tell my doctor that I was studying because he wouldn't have been that, like, he's lovely, but he wouldn't have been that open to it. I waited until I started to see some results. And so then I started to like be like, so I've done this or this. And he was like, kind of like, how could you do this? And I was like, well, like I did start studying. And so then, the whole time, like I was working with my doctor, like, because I was so unwell, I had to go in for monthly checkups. That was sometimes so hard to do because I was just so sick. I'd almost lie in his office. But so he would watch me get better and better. And so he was noticing differences. For about 6 or 7 months, I kept it quiet in terms of what I was actually doing because I didn't quite have the energy to be able to argue with him or try and convince him of my opinions or what I was doing. So it wasn't until I kind of got more energy that then we could go backwards and I could start telling him. And he was very encouraging and supportive. And he did say to me at the end when I had my last appointment with him, because he gave me the full bill of health, but I already knew that because I was feeling amazing. And he was like, you know what? I always knew you were going to get better. And I just laughed because I was like, I was so sick. And he was like, with your determination and you're like so desperate to get better, he was like, I never knew how you were going to get better, but I just knew you were going to be one of the patients that got themselves fully better.
Wow. I love that. And again, that go-getter personality to climb out of that hole is just an amazing story. And what did you do after you got better? Did you go back to corporate America, or is that when you started your own business with the idea of helping others?
Well, so my whole passion was, because now I was like, I don't really want to work with spreadsheets. Like I love corporate world, like my drive for that and my memories, like I wouldn't have left the corporate environment if I hadn't have gotten sick. Like that's how much I loved it. But equally, I'd spent all these years being like, if I can use my journey to help somebody else, I want to help others. So I was like, well, how do I reconcile that? Like, how do I bring in my corporate life, which I love, but help people, like this is my new passion. Like, I don't really want to deal with spreadsheets and numbers anymore. Like, I want to see there's so many sick people out there, or so many people like me, that if they just knew something different, their paths could be different. And so I had an old boss, an executive, an accounting partner in New Zealand. His wife was super sick, like how I was. And so he just said to me, he was like, Shelley, like we've reached out to everyone. I know that you're not really doing this for a business thing, but you're really better. Like you're living your life. Can you please just work with my client? Like, please. And I was like, you know what, like, sure, no big deal. I want to help people. I was like, maybe that's why I got sick, just to help her and her family. So I was kind of like, okay with that. Anyway, so I took her on, I guess, as a client, but I didn't really think about it then because I didn't have a business. So I just took her on.
Yeah.
And from that, we got her better, like, super fast, and she didn't have to go through what I went through. And then she started to talk, and I was like, and because naturally I love business, I love setting up businesses and stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to start a business. Like, I am going to be a functional nutritionist. That's what I'm trained in now. And so then I decided that because I was so passionate about the corporate world, I base myself now downtown, like right in the mecca of the financial world, like right, that's where my office is. So I step out and there's suits and like business people everywhere. And I decided that I could marry them or like bring them together by making my target market corporate people. So generally corporate women. Obviously I see other women, I see families and stuff, but most of my clients are all entrepreneurs or working in the corporate world. So I absolutely love going to work because as far as I'm concerned, I get the like brilliant office that's full of quirky, wonderful things. But I'm interacting with corporates all day long and entrepreneurs. So I get to now, I feel like it's even better because I'm not just in the banking world. Now I get exposure to like all these different worlds, and they step in and out of my office every hour. So I see something new. And then I get what's the real privilege is I get to do a lot of corporate work with corporations. So I will go in and speak, or I'll run wellness programs for them. And that just brings me so much joy. Like when I get asked why I do it, I'm always like, because I don't want anyone else to go through what I went through. Yeah. So that's my biggest drive. I don't take that on in terms of like, I'm going to thrash myself again so nobody else gets sick. I'm like, within these boundaries, I'm going to give my all to my clients and these corporations, but I'm also going to look after myself.
Yeah, I love that. And the fact that you took the best of both worlds, like you love the corporate, you took your story, you took your passions, your knowledge and the skills that you have, you sort of packaged them into a business that just aligns with who you are, your experiences.
Totally.
And all the things that you love are incorporated in a very unique way, which is just why I was so attracted to you. I was like, oh my goodness, like just looking at how you've pulled these different strings together and have created this is so amazing. So something that I wanted to talk to you about or ask you about, since we're talking about stress and burnout and the overworking, is can you talk to us about the difference between the parasympathetic, right?
Yeah, and sympathetic
stress. So how do we tell the difference? Because for many of us entrepreneurs, many of us are stressed, overworked, overwhelmed. And how do we actually tell the difference between the good stress and the bad stress?
So for most of us, what makes it really tricky is most of us in this world, myself included previously, we're sympathetic dominant. So there's actually nothing to tell the differences because most of us, and this is a huge generalization, but thinking about the audience, haven't really felt what it feels like to be parasympathetic. So if you haven't felt it, it's very hard to know that there is such a thing as something different and be what that feels like, right? So sympathetic is when stress is on. So we're extremely stressed. So it's normal to feel stressed, like if you're about to run into a car in front of you and you need to slam on your brakes. If you get rung up and you're like, oh my gosh, this deal's off, like I've got to pull together this amazing thing within 24 hours, like that's normal for your stress response to kick in. And that's what we want because that's survival. Like whether it's your paycheck that you're surviving on or stopping an accident, we need that stress response to kick in. It's there to look after us. It's there to protect us and keep us alive. So being sympathetic is not a bad thing. It's just a bad thing the way most of us are letting it run our lives. So most of us, when we wake up in the morning, are waking up with speeding kind of hearts or busy minds, looking on our phones, looking on our computers, replying to emails before we've even woken up. And we're like we're switched on. We're like, do. If we're lucky, we might eat breakfast without looking at our phones, but most of us are skimming the news or reading the emails or thinking about what we're doing, going through our plan, or walking as we eat, or stuffing the bagel in our mouths, or whatever it is, or having a coffee because we don't even have time for breakfast. Then some of us will eat lunch. Others of us are eating lunch at our desks. So we're staying sympathetic. Then we'll come home, we'll get stuck in traffic, something will go wrong, so we're stressed, we're like, whatever it is. And so for most of us, we're spending all day sympathetic. So external world, like just in terms of the busyness, and internally in our bodies, we'll be keeping a lot of stress in, because when stress is on, right, when we're sympathetic dominant, and I make this with my clients, digestion's off. You can't digest your food. So every time you eat, you can't digest it if you're in a stress response, because the stress is all about survival. Stress is all about getting you out of a situation where you might die, where something bad might happen to you. So in those types of times, our body and our brain does not need to worry about eating. Food is the furthest thing from our minds, right? So when stress is on, digestion's off. So what does that mean in terms of for us all day? It means that every time we eat, we're eating in a stress response. And the irony of this, right, is it means that we further say internally stressed, because our body can't digest it. We're not getting the nutrients from our food. We're not breaking it down properly, which means now we're stressing out our internal body. So we've got the external stress, and now we've got a whole bunch of internal stress going on. So I say to clients, at this point, when you're that sympathetic dominant, which most of us are, and most of us in this world are, you could be in Hawaii, living on the beach, in the most zen environment. But if your body's really stressed out, and from years of being stressed, from your digestion turning itself off, it doesn't just turn itself on because you're in Hawaii and now you're on beach time. So come on, body, start functioning properly. Unfortunately, our bodies don't quite work like that. So it means we've got internal stress, and with internal stress, the catch-22 is that keeps us more sympathetic dominant externally as well. So now we're draining our body of energy all day long internally, especially every time you eat. Then you've got as a busy entrepreneur, you've got the meetings, you've got the clients, you've got the phone calls, you've got all the to-do lists, you've got your family, you've got the traffic, whatever it is. So you stay so sympathetic dominant. What we need to do is actually be parasympathetic, which is, then this is to do with our central nervous system. There's two streams to it. There's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. And what we need to be is actually, when we wake up in the morning, parasympathetic dominant. And we want to spend about 80% of our day parasympathetic. And it's normal to flick in and out into our sympathetic. And so back to your question, was once we've experienced being parasympathetic, then we know what it feels like to be sympathetic. So then you can manage it more, and you can feel yourself flick out of it. And when you're parasympathetic dominant, that's when you can digest your food. That's when you can rest. That's when your body can heal itself. That's when your immune system functions properly. That's when, as entrepreneurs, we're really creative. Yeah. That's when our brains aren't inflamed anymore, so we can focus and we can concentrate and we work at our highest level. Is actually, a lot of us are adrenaline junkies, so we think that go is really good and the adrenaline firing is good. But our best time for working is actually when we're parasympathetic dominant, and when that stress responses come right down. Oh, that's when we think clearly. That's when we think strategically. That's when we work at our best.
All of that good stuff. Thank you so much. So how do we shift our stress levels? How can we stay in that parasympathetic? You said we should be there 80% of the time. How do we get there? So if we're living in the opposite way, what are some things that we can do to live in that state?
Well, the first one is just awareness. If you know, it's that easy. If you don't even realize there is two ways, I didn't when I was at the investment bank, I was clueless. If you're not aware of it, you can't even change it and you can't do anything about it. Number one is just being aware. It is that simple. Or even just acknowledging that that's the way you're living. Because once you acknowledge it and you have awareness, you can change it. And it doesn't need to be when I talk to corporates and stuff, it doesn't need to be that now you have to go to yoga every single day and you have to quit all these things and all these things that you love. Because joy and things that you love doing bring you into your parasympathetic, right? So it's not about getting out all these things you love. And if you love your business, I love my business. That's my biggest problem now, is that I love my business so much. I want to come home and work on it in the evenings. I want to come home and research more for my clients, right? I love it. That's my passion. That's what brings me joy. So doing things that bring you joy. So it's not about, we're busy. It's not about adding in more things. It's actually about just realigning what we are doing and really thinking and changing. So rather than going, thinking that, going for your walk is a stress or whatever, if that's what you love, then it's bringing you into your parasympathetic naturally, and it's bringing you joy, and it's bringing down the stress beacon. But another simple thing, I'm not asking you to do yoga every day or whatever. But if you wake up in the morning and you do 3 deep breaths, like when you first wake up, before you check your phone, before you go on your computer, before you get up for the kids or whatever it is, I'm talking about you take a inhale, pause, and then a long exhale, and you do that 3 times, you're getting yourself into your parasympathetic. And if you start to get yourself into your parasympathetic in the morning, when you go to sleep in the evening, you've got more chance of being parasympathetic before you go to sleep. So you're going to get into a much deeper, better sleep. And if you want to build on that, if you do those 3 breaths before each meal, because I talked about when stress is on, digestion's off. Yes. If you try and get your parasympathetic into your parasympathetic before eating, so you bring down the internal stress because you can actually digest your food now, that's a huge win in terms of bringing down your stress. If you bring down your internal stress, you're naturally helping yourself get parasympathetic throughout the day.
Wow.
So it's like, and you can turn it into a routine. Like, I don't care if you're eating your lunch at your desk. I don't care what you're doing, but like there's better and more things we can do. But initially it's just like, just stop for 3 deep breaths, do them, and then do whatever you're doing. That is not, you're breathing anyway. So just bring some mindfulness to it and get yourself into that parasympathetic. Do it again before you go to bed. And already you've done it 5 times throughout the day. And the way our central nervous system works is through neuroplasticity, which just basically, I like to explain it as it's through neuropathways, right? And we can create new neuropathways. So it's like our brain works on kind of railway tracks, right? And we're so used to going down that sympathetic railway line. If we take a moment to pause and do those deep breaths, our brain goes, oh, okay, I'm going to go down the parasympathetic one now. Like, that's a new track. The more you do it, the more you build on this track, and the more your brain naturally flicks down that. So it means that your body starts working more for you. And naturally, when you come to that, rather than going straight down the sympathetic pathway, you start to build more and more tracks down the parasympathetic one. And that becomes your new norm. And it means when something does blow up, because it's going to happen, we're entrepreneurs, things go wrong, we deal with people, things go wrong. Yep. So when that happens, yes, we might go down that sympathetic pathway again, because we should in that time, but we can get back over the railway lines to the parasympathetic much quicker and much easier. And we know how to keep bringing ourselves back to that place.
Oh, I love that. And I remember like it was yesterday, us first having this conversation like a few weeks ago. And when you were explaining everything, I was just like, mind was blown. Like, I mean, I get the concept. It's just actually putting it to practice when you're so busy, it can be the challenge. But here's the thing. I think that when us as entrepreneurs, when we prioritize our health, when we slow down and we put it first, we're able to show up not only in our businesses, but in our lives, for our partners, for your kids, for your family. And I think you just show up, you're more grounded. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And it's like when our health is deteriorating, you feel it in every area of your life. I'm so much beyond business. It's not even funny. I mean, I've been sick a few times and everything was just off. Yeah. So what are some things that we can watch out for as entrepreneurs as we're on the go? What are some things that, if they were happening to us, like last time you said, if you catch yourself, you're an entrepreneur, you catch yourself drinking a lot of coffee, what are some warning signs or like kind of alarms that we need to pay attention to? Because you talked about for you, how you didn't have that awareness at all. You're just going. So how can we help people bring that awareness? So is there like maybe a few signs that people can look out for?
It's totally just starting to listen to your bodies. Our bodies are our best friends. Most of us think that they're in the way of our lives, or they're holding us back, or they're just not working for us. Our bodies are 100% there to like succeed. They are our best friends. They're our biggest cheerleaders, right? Like they just want us to win. They want to do right by us. A lot of us see them as not wanting to, but it's like, listen, if we listen to our bodies will always tell us what to do. They always tell us what they need. So my way, a lot of us just use artificial stimulants, whatever that may be, whether coffee, drinking, whatever it is, to override the body's signals. So if you can listen, like with me, when I went from wanting 1 cup of coffee occasionally to wanting 1 daily, to then needing 2, to then needing 3. If I'd listened to those signals, what my body was telling us was, it wasn't functioning. It was tired. It was depleted. It needed help. And like I say to my clients, they're like, are you going to tell me to give up coffee? And we all know there's research for why coffee's good and why coffee's bad. I always say to them, I'm like, it's not the coffee. It's why you're needing it. Like if you can live without it and you're not using it to help your energy levels in any way, then it's fine, if you know what I mean, because you're not using it. But if you're using it to stimulate your body in a way, and we use all sorts of different things, then we know there's something out of balance with your body. And that's a sign, like that's a sign. And it's like with cravings, right? Like when we're craving certain things, whether it's potato chips or whatever, or sugar or whatever it is, it's another way our body's talking to us. It's not bad to crave those things necessarily, but what's the key part is to ask, think about it. What is my body needing? What am I not giving it nutritionally? What am I not giving it diet-wise or water-wise or whatever it is? Like, what does it need? When you can't sleep at night because you've got this, you're waking up all the time, or you can't fall asleep, another sign that your body's talking to you. Your body's needing something, if you know what I mean. So it's not like take a sleeping pill and, you know, like maybe sometimes you need to whatever, get yourself back on track. But more importantly, it's questioning like, what is going on in my body? What is it low in? What does it need? What is out of balance? Like now I look at it in terms of what, I don't beat my body up. It's like, what is out of balance? What does it need? Like when we get dark circles under our eyes or whatever, it's not that we need more sleep. It's another thing of our bodies telling us it's out of balance. As women, when our period's off, like when we're getting symptoms, when we're getting cravings, when we're getting irritable, when we're feeling cramping or whatever, our periods as women entrepreneurs are our free monthly checkups with how our health is tracking. That's a big sign. That's big warnings. Like if I look back like 10 years ago from when I did get sick, my periods were causing me to like faint. I was so out of balance with my hormones. That was my body telling me 10 years earlier that it was out of balance, if you know what I mean, but I ignored it and I just thought that was normal. So that's a free monthly checkup. And I hate to say this, but our poo health each day is a free daily checkup of what's happening with our health. If you know what I mean? So there's like so many with bloating. That's a big sign. Or when you're gaining weight and there's no rhyme or reason for it in terms of like your food's the same, your diet's the same, another signal that your body's out of balance. So these are all free things like that. And it doesn't even take hard work to notice these things or monitor them, but just bring that awareness. Let us know. Or a key one is when you are too busy to do something. Like I remember back in my investment days before I got really sick, a couple of my friends had been telling me to go to yoga and I was like, yoga is not for me. I love yoga now. But back then yoga was not for me. And I was like, no, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to keep drinking my 3 coffees. And they were like, no, we think yoga would be really good for you. Anyway, 7 months of convincing me, I was like, fine, I will go. Turned up to the class on a Sunday night and I had this expectation it was going to be 60 minutes. I don't know where I got that from, but I thought yoga was 60 minutes. We get there and within 2 minutes, the instructor was like, this class is 90 minutes. I was like, I don't have time for 90 minutes. Like that extra 30 minutes threw me into a spin. And I was like, I got to get home. I got to get my work done. I was like, I don't have time for this. I packed up my mat and I left and I never went back to yoga. But now when I look back, I'm like, I needed yoga then. And I needed those extra 30 minutes of just being on the mat and being still in my mind more than ever. So when you get into that cycle of just not having enough time for something you love or the person you love or whatever it is, like you're just feeling like you don't have enough time, that's another signal. It doesn't mean you have to do less or you can't do your dreams and everything you envision for your business, but it's another cycle. It's another sign that you're out of balance. It's another sign that something's not going right in your body. So it's listening to all those things and just realigning, reassessing. And even if you do nothing, at least having the awareness.
Yeah, I love that. And it always goes back to awareness. If you're not aware that something is happening, you don't really know where to
change it.
Yeah, you don't know where to pivot. You don't know where to change it or what to do that, how to move forward. So yeah, I love all that. And something as you were talking a lot, I've heard many entrepreneurs say that I can't sleep. I can't fall asleep. That's one of them. And it can go on and on. But lastly, what would you say to someone? So as we wrap this up, what would you say to someone who would say, Shelley, I hear you. I know that, when we don't have time to eat healthy, when we don't have time to do yoga, when we don't have time to meditate, when we don't have time to take care of our bodies, that's when we need it the most. What would you say to someone who just feels so wrapped up in their business, so wrapped up in what they have to do, that it is just so difficult for them to see how they can just start incorporating things? What would you tell them, or what type of words of encouragement or benefits that will
just take one deep breath? Keep it so simple. Get rid, you've just got to start somewhere. We can always find an excuse. We're overachievers. We can always find another to-do item to do. Our to-do list is never going to go out the door. We're always going to get to the bottom of it and then write a whole new list. Like, that's our personalities, right? We can embrace it. We can love it. We can stop beating ourselves up about it. But you can just take one deep breath. And you know what? If you're in that situation where you're like, I need all of the, I can't do any of this. Once again, you've just given yourself the awareness. The awareness is key, because what's going to happen is eventually you're going to go, I've got to change, or I've just got to take that deep breath. So I think that the fact that you're now aware about it, don't beat yourself up about it. Like, we don't need to do that. We're queens and kings of doing that. Accept it. Fine. And just go, okay, like, I know that I'm out of balance. I don't want to change anything right now. I know that I'm out of balance, and that's okay, because eventually one day you'll go, I'm ready to take a deep breath, or I'm ready to trade my McDonald's for some healthy takeout alternative, whatever it's going to be, a salad or whatever it is that I'm going to buy. We don't all have to be home cooks that cook bone broth from scratch and sauerkraut and eat all this, like, do yoga classes, like that might, or do meditation. That just might not ever be who we are as entrepreneurs. That might never be a part of your health journey. Yes. But you can find things like my top executives, they're not going to cook from scratch, but they might not have McDonald's anymore, and they might go and have a healthy alternative each day instead. Or you might go one day, when you're having your coffee, and go, am I fueling this because I'm tired, or do I really like the taste of it? It's that simple. If you know what I mean, like, do you then need to do anything about it? No. But you're starting to plant that seed, and you're bringing that awareness. And it might be that you do nothing today, but it might be the day you go and have your third coffee, you go, something's out of balance. Or maybe it's your 10th coffee. Whatever it is, bringing that awareness. It's not judgment. We're not here to beat you up. We're not here to criticize you. We, as entrepreneurs and ape-type personalities, we're already pushing ourselves to the extremes. Yeah. We don't now need to be mean to ourselves. It's just about whatever it is that you can do, that's your best. So just do that. And that's going to look so different for all of us.
I love how you brought that up, because we have to do what works for us. We have to be kind to ourselves. We have to bring that awareness. And when we're ready to make the change, we will make that change. Shelley, thank you so much for everything, for sharing your story, for giving us these strategies and tips and helping us bring awareness to our health. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure and so much of a joy. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I would love to hear from you. Head over to noellebloom.com and leave a comment. Let us know, what's your biggest insight from this conversation? How has your health been on your entrepreneurship journey? Have you been overworked? If so, what have you done about it? Have you been overly stressed? And what have you done? What type of challenges do you face while running your business and being that ambitious, high-achieving entrepreneur that you know you can be? I would love to hear from you. If you liked this video, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. As you're out there doing your work in the world, remember to have fun, live free, and feel fabulous. I'll see you next time on Bloom TV. Bye. Are you on the VIP list? If not, you're missing out. Head to noellebloom.com now and sign up to get free exclusive content to help you create a business and live fabulous.